AI is in your search results, your art feeds, the articles that you read, it's everywhere. I've been wanting to talk about AI on this channel for a while now, but I've been struggling to find a way that feels authentic. So I took a poll in my community posts and just asked, thoughts on AI art? And here's the results I got. A handful of people said they either love it or think it's okay in moderation, 45% say they hate it, and 45% say it's okay for ideas or inspiration. So where do I land on this? Do I think that this is the end of art as we know it, or is this a useful tool that we can use to make even better things? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Robinson of Robinson Pixels. I'm gonna pull up an art piece that I made while I kind of talk about this. We're gonna do this one like video essay style, so if you wanna put this on while you do the dishes or drive, cool. Here we go. So if you're new here, I'm just a guy who made pixel art comics as a kid, then grew up and got an office job. But then in 2017, I decided to teach myself how to draw, which I did for a few years, including a couple of year-long art challenges. Now by 2023, I realized I really wanted to go back to my origins. I wanted to make pixel art. A little over a year later, I started this channel, and I've been chugging along ever since. So I've never been a professional artist, and I imagine most of you watching haven't either. And if that's the case, I gotta tell you, we came into all this art stuff at the weirdest time. Because in August 2022, Stable Diffusion launched to the public. If you're not aware, Stable Diffusion is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, AI art generators in the world. At first, it was pretty obvious what images were AI. Too many fingers, blurry monster-looking faces in the background, but now it's pretty damn convincing. I thought pixel art would somehow be different, and in fact most AI pixel art still stands out. The pixel sizes are not uniform, shapes will have perfect curves that low-res art can't do, random crappy artifacts float around. But for those who are determined, if you just do a search for how to make AI pixel art, there are guides that'll get you there, and it looks pretty good. And here's the thing. I'm not gonna name the guy in the video I watched to do the research for this. I don't wanna be that type of channel. But he walks you through the process, he has AI crank out a few pixel art pictures, and then he says something along the lines of, and just look at this 8-bit art. I can already imagine selling this on a t-shirt. And that's what this is to him. He spent at most 5 minutes on it, and already he's ready to sell. And he doesn't even know the difference between 8-bit and 16-bit. This had way too many colors to be 8-bit, but that doesn't matter to him. This is a product and he's ready to roll. He didn't make art, he had a computer generate a picture. Yeah, he had to type some words to make it happen, but he didn't do it. Now, based on my survey responses, most of you would agree. That's not something you should sell. But if you go look at Etsy right now at the digital art section, half the page is AI. But if you're still on the fence about whether you should put AI out there at all, let's first go over the reasons why I believe you should not, under any circumstances, use it as a product, and then we'll talk about my feelings on its use as an inspirational tool. The most obvious reason not to use AI in your products is the one that's been talked to death, and that's of course the ethics of it. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on how these models work, but a non-negotiable fact of AI art, ChatGPT, and really any of the heavy hitters in the AI space is that they are trained on copyrighted data. AI art software has taken millions of images from the internet. For all intents and purposes, every digital image that has ever existed on the public internet could have been included, and they used that to train the system. Obviously, they didn't ask permission from every human with an internet connection. Now, some people have mentioned that it might be okay if the artists whose work was used were compensated. But guys, it's not like it's just artists, it's everything. If you posted a picture on Facebook of your grandma in 2009, Meta took it. That's in there. Your grandma was part of the AI training process. And that's disgusting. Not your grandma, I'm sure she's sweet. But there is a strong chance that everything you've ever shared was used to train these systems. That's gross. Now, once it's all in there, it's essentially like it's been hyper-compressed and tossed into a blender until a machine could learn what things are. From what I understand, it's not storing the data. It's learning an approximation of what things look like. And isn't that what brains do? And that's one of the biggest arguments I've seen in favor of AI. It's just learning, like how people learn. Hell, let's use my own channel here. I've got videos trying to learn the art styles of Mega Man, Metroid, that video game episode of X-Men 97, and I've got fan art like when I adapted Sly Cooper into my own style, and when I dressed up King Kong as Zero from the Mega Man games. What's the difference between me aping those styles and AI doing the same thing? I'm gonna put this as gently as I know how. AI is not a human being. It is a computer system developed and currently released for free, with paid tiers, with the hope that it will eventually bring its creators lots and lots of money. Stop anthropomorphizing AI. It doesn't reimagine zodiac signs as monsters or Disney villains as famous actors from the 80s. It's not imagining anything. It doesn't have an imagination because it's not a person. And if we're being real, it didn't learn. It didn't gain or acquire a knowledge or skill in anything. It's a machine. It reproduced the statistical likelihood that the arrangement of pixels on screen matched the prompt it was fed. I'm studying Master Pixel Artist because I want to learn the skills that will allow me to create my own art that is uniquely me. My art will take what I have learned and my experiences from my life and use that to create what is fully and uniquely my own. AI can't filter out what it's studied, and like I said, it has studied essentially everything. Because it is an amalgamation of everything, it cannot and will not ever be unique to you or anyone who uses it. I've seen arguments that AI democratizes art, and that is weak. Art is already democratized. Pick up a pencil and a piece of paper and take the damn time to learn. You don't need a fancy art school. YouTube exists and has plenty of free resources. If you don't want to take the time to learn, you don't want to be an artist. That's all there is to it. And you don't have to want to be an artist. Other people do, and they would very much like to have a job. I'd like to have a job doing this someday. So let's talk about jobs. I went to a required AI thing for work, where we got presentations about it all day. And during one speech, the lady up on stage said very flippantly that AI isn't taking anyone's jobs, this will enhance jobs. And then not 2 minutes later, she showed us this AI service where all you do is enter a website's URL with no further information, and it can distill that information into an entire commercial, complete with voiceover, music, and footage. No jobs are being taken? Okay, what about the writer, director, storyboard artist, actors, narrator, editor, musician, set designer, lighting technician, camera operator, drone operator, and boom operator? Not to mention the people who make the cameras that would have been used, and the people who sell those cameras, and the mics, and the tripods, and the lights. There's a giant pipeline of people here who didn't get to work. And I get that stuff is expensive. If you want to make a commercial, I couldn't afford all that either. But guys, some of the best things come from the resourcefulness that you have to have when you have limitations. Hell, pixel art itself wouldn't exist if it weren't for the efforts of people working very hard to find new ways to represent people and monsters and objects in a new, limited art form that didn't exist before video games. Shovel Knight intentionally gave itself some of these restrictions, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. If you can't make Shovel Knight style visuals, you can probably pull off Undertale's, which, by the way, has a higher Metacritic score. And plus, if you get your concept right, if you can do a good job with a little, you can always upgrade later as you build your skills and your team and make friends doing the things you love. Spelunky and Cave Story are two hugely successful indie games. They both looked pretty rough at first, but they both got remasters later, once they'd proven themselves. The last big argument against AI's use in its entirety was actually brought up by several people in my poll, and that's the environmental impact. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on this. I recycle my cardboard, but I still drink almond milk. Apparently that's bad for the world, so sorry guys. But when I went to research this, Google's AI popped up in the search results and told me that the environmental impact depends on the technology involved. And then it said that AI can emit less carbon than humans for writing and illustrating. I don't know what kind of dystopian hellscape we're living in that anyone's argument in favor of AI art is that the carbon footprint of a computer system is smaller than that of a human being. Gah. Now, I will tell you, I am aware that I am Old Man Yells at Cloud. Even when I was young, I didn't get a cell phone till I was 15, I didn't get a smartphone till I was in my 20s, I didn't get a Facebook account till I was in college, and even now, to this day, I have never made a tweet. I'll be honest, I don't even know what you call tweets anymore since Twitter switched to X. I've never X'd, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people say AI is the future, and we just need to get on board. Cranky old men like me are just gonna fall behind. And they may be right. Granted, there's a chance that the artist will win that class action lawsuit that's going on against all the big AI art companies and put them out of business. And there's a chance that George R.R. Martin and friends will win that lawsuit against ChatGPT, and that the New York Times will win against OpenAI, and Sarah Silverman and friends will win against OpenAI and Meta. There's a lot of lawsuits going on right now for something that is the future. But let's say AI won't go the way of MySpace or NFTs or Vine or fidget spinners, and it's here to stay. If you promise you're not going to sell anything generated by AI or use it to replace human workers, is it still okay for ideas? You do you, but I personally would strongly advise that you do not. I fell very comfortably into that hate it category, if you couldn't tell. Maybe it is because I was born a cranky old man, but I'll give you a few reasons why I think you should also give it up cold turkey. The first thing I have to do is quote my favorite response from my poll. Robot Star said, "Might as well make an AI to eat my meals and pet my cats too." The beauty and joy of art is the process. I don't mean just in the act of drawing or painting or whatever, I mean in the whole shebang. I've been playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider lately. I promise this is relevant. There are these monoliths hidden all over the game, and if you can decipher them, it'll give you clues to a treasure hunt. The most recent one I found gave me a hint. I swim with a turtle, seen only by those who let fear fall away. I went on a little hike, and off the side of a cliff, I found a huge pool of water. Perfect. I would assume that letting fear fall away involves falling into the water, so I did a swan dive into the lake. Now, I didn't see anything in the water at first, just some fish, no turtles, but then I saw an underwater cave. I swam through and popped up in a cavern. Up on top of a stone wall was a treasure chest, which of course I raided, but that wasn't the treasure I was looking for. Now, back in the water, I found a huge ancient pillar, and I realized this was pointing me to a little creek, and that led to an entire tomb, complete with its own traps and piranhas and treasures. It was great. But that was also not the answer to the monolith puzzle. So back to the lake I went, and I looked forever. And just when I was about to leave, I noticed something about a pile of rocks underwater. They looked weird. They were positioned funny. They looked like a turtle. I gotta tell you, I was hyped. I swam down, I looked around, nothing. I got back out of the water, climbed the cliff, and in real life, I just got on the internet and looked up the damn answer to the damn puzzle that I couldn't figure out. Y'all, it was those rocks. All I had to do was swim behind the rock turtle and actually pay attention, and I got a prompt to dig up the treasure. I was glad I got the treasure, but I was irritated that I didn't solve the puzzle, which wasn't even a hard one. I mean, I had it in the bag, and I just gave up too early. And that is my problem with AI inspiration. When you've got art block, or you just want some ideas, you're in that puzzle. You're the Tomb Raider. You just have to keep looking for a little while longer. If I had just stuck to it, I would have felt accomplished for finding the treasure myself. And even more importantly, if I had given up and looked up that answer sooner, I wouldn't have even needed to explore the lake. I may never have found that underwater cave that led to a treasure chest. I also may never have found that entire separate tomb with its own adventure that helped shape the way I play the game. Your art needs to be yours, in a way that only you could have experienced it. I'm not saying don't use any references at all. Obviously, I use references constantly, but it involves a lot of research and saving different pictures and outfits and poses, reading about different cultures, and just figuring out what resonates with me as a person. What colors work? What concepts speak to me? Once I start drawing and listening to only myself, having had all these experiences, am I gonna find a secret hidden treasure where I didn't expect it? Some little spark of an idea that I would not have found if I were distracted my ability to summon AI at will. And the last thing I'll say on it is that if you are just asking the AI for suggestions, or you want a quick little glance at what something could or should look like, just keep in mind who you're asking. It's not a friend or family or even an expert. It's everyone. The stories that AI can tell, the pictures it can generate, the music it can write. At the end of the day, it was literally created by a machine approximating the average of human artistic expression. And I don't want to be average. If you've made it to the end, thank you for sticking around. I look forward to hearing from you in the comments and all your different thoughts on this and new perspectives. Now, if you are on your art journey and you're getting stuck every now and then, you can't figure out what to do or how to do it, I have a whole video about busting art block, which has a whole lot of tips to kind of walk you through that process, and you can check that out right over here. Like the video to show some support, and follow along for more pixel practice. I swim with a turtle, I swim with a turtle, only seen, damn, I can't read.